You guys have no idea how excited I was to use my first ever useful Shundo in the Master League. But I got my butt kicked. There's a few reasons why I think I couldn't make Black Kyurem work in the Master League, one of them being I don't have the right Pokemon to pair it with. The other reason is, well, because it's so popular at the moment, everyone is trying to counter Kyurem, so it's really difficult to run into a team that's gonna actually be weak to this Pokemon. And the third reason is that I kept running into this stupid Pokemon in every single match, and it absolutely destroyed all the teams that I built with Kyurem. I am sick and tired of seeing Rhyperior in the Master League. I want this Pokemon nerfed to the ground. I hate Rhyperior so much. You have no idea. This Pokemon is the reason that I am not playing Master League, because all the Pokemon that I run are really going to struggle against it. Even my Palkia. Like, what am I supposed to do against it if it double shields? Nothing. So in today's video, we're not actually going to run my nice Shundo Black Kyurem. I kind of wish I built a white Kyurem instead, because then I can Ice Fang the crap out of Rhyperior. But instead, I decided to build an entire team that should theoretically fully counter Rhyperior. But I still struggled against it. So hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be running a team with Shadow Mamoswine, and we actually went very positive with this Pokemon. I was so impressed at how good it is against the current meta. I am running it with Mud Slap and Icicle Spear. You guys know that I recently got Icicle Spear added to its moveset, and I really liked it. I paired it with Florges on the lead and Palkia Origin in the back. For the most part, I used the Shadow Mamoswine as a safe swap because it actually does a really decent amount of neutral damage to almost everything in the meta, unless you see a flying type, because I am running it with Mud Slap, but it can still hit for super effective with the Icicle Spear and the Stone Edge. I'm running Stone Edge for Kyurem because of how common Kyurem is. And obviously that Icicle Spear is going to be really good against most of the dragon types and the ground types. That being said, we are ABA weak to Ho-Oh, so usually if I see a Ho-Oh on the lead, I'll just go ahead and top left. But thankfully, I haven't seen too many Ho-Ohs in the past couple of days that I've been playing. I saw I think 2 out of the 5 sets that I played yesterday, which is really nice. I did go ahead and top left against one of them. Another one, I think my Palkia was aligned to it, so I was okay. But for the most part, for some reason, I haven't been seeing too many Ho-Ohs, and I think that's probably because of how common Rhyperior is and how common the dragon types are, especially with Kyurem being able to get to that Fusion Bolt really quickly in 6 Shadow Claws. That's going to hit for super effective against Ho-Oh, so I feel like a lot of people have been discouraged from using that Pokemon, which is why I was able to make this team work, but just keep that in mind. Now, I've been seeing a lot of people say that Icicle Spear Mamoswine isn't great, but I think actually if you run it as a Shadow, then those Icicle Spears are really going to chunk. I was able to make it work against some of the Fairy types as well. If you can land an Icicle Spear, it does a lot of damage. So don't underestimate Shadow Mamoswine. It's really good, in my opinion. Now, of course, I did run Shadow Mamoswine because I don't have access to a Rhyperior of my own, and my Landorus has 14 attacks, so I'm always losing CMP, and so many people are running that Pokemon in the mirror. I just lose. So I just ran Mamoswine. You can run Rhyperior or Landorus in place of the Mamoswine if you don't have it. I did run into someone else running a very similar team. They were running Florges, Palkia, and Rhyperior. So I know that it is a solid team. It's definitely a team that exists. So if you want to try it, I can probably recommend it to you guys. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling now because we are 5 minutes into the video and I have not spoken about battles yet. So let's just jump straight into these matches. In this first one, we are up against Dialga Origin on the lead. And okay, so I messed this up. I have to warn you guys, at the beginning, my shield management is atrocious. I go ahead and I double shield Florges here, which is not great. My opponent has a Palkia in the back, so I did need the Florges, but I swap into my Palkia. They have a shield left. They're able to shield the Spatial Rend from our Palkia, and I am going to be able to take them out with a Trailblaze here. Now, unfortunately for me, because I don't have any shields left, I can't reach a Stone Edge on my Mamoswine against this Ho-Oh. I think they would have been able to incinerate us down before we did anyways. So I'm just going to go ahead and top left and take a loss. On to the next battle, we're going to be up against a White Kyurem on the lead. I did manage to build up to a Moonblast and then bait with a Trailblaze and take a shield from my opponent. But Florges is going to lose this matchup against Kyurem. I do go for the Moonblast finally, and we get both of our opponent's shields, and then my opponent actually swaps out, probably trying to catch the Moonblast on Necrozma, but I swap into my Mamoswine immediately. I am going to have to go for an Icicle Spear to take them out, otherwise they would have been able to Shadow Claw us down, and it looks like my opponent's final Pokemon is a Dialga. Okay, I have a shield left, so I think I can win this if I just go for a Spatial Rend. Yeah, I should be able to Dragon Breath this Dialga down, and I have the Moonblast stored on Florges. The problem is, they have a move on Kyurem, but thank goodness they actually go for it on Palkia. They probably could have farmed us down and then gone for the Fusion Flare against Florges. But because they throw away their energy, we're able to go for a Moonblast, take the Kyurem out, and take that win. On to the next battle, we get a really nice lead of Palkia into Florges. My opponent swaps out into Dialga, and I just decide to go for a Moonblast to weaken them before swapping out into my Mamoswine because the Dragon Breaths are really going to hurt from this Dialga. So I am able to farm them down. I did have to shield the Iron Head, of course. And now I have energy for this Palkia. I'm going to go for the Stone Edge because I'm not expecting my opponent to shield. They don't shield. We get them into the yellow with Mamoswine, and at this point, I can let the Aqua Tail go. I was going to reach an Icicle Spear if they didn't throw that move. And this is really good for me because it means they won't have a lot of energy for Florges. Now it looks like my opponent's final Pokemon is a Necrozma Duskmane. And I really need to land an Aqua Tail on this Pokemon. We do manage to take both of their shields. And here, I think my opponent is going to throw Sunsteel Strike, which I live with very little HP. And then I can go for that Aqua Tail, get them into the red. And then I am going to come in with Florges and go for a Trailblaze because I don't want them to reach a move. I'm able to take the Necrozma out. And then my opponent goes ahead and top lefts because all they have left is that Palkia. And we have a full health Florges. And that first set is going to be a 3-2. So we did get some losses, but still a positive set. Moving on to the next battle, we get a terrible lead of Necrozma. I swap out immediately into my Mamoswine, and we draw out a Palkia. Okay, if we can land an Icicle Spear, we can win this switch, and my opponent lets the Icicle Spear go. I'm able to Mud Slap them down, and then they bring in a White Kyurem. I'm going to go immediately for the Stone Edge, hoping that my opponent calls an Icicle Spear. They let it go, and it almost one-shots, and now it is going to be our full health Palkia up against their Necrozma. Now, I really need to land an Aqua Tail on this Pokemon, and I'm really hoping that they're not running Outrage. They are going for Dark Pulse here, but they could also be baiting. Now, here, this ends up being the Dark Pulse. We live, and my opponent even tries to catch the Aqua Tail on their Kyurem, but we're able to Dragon Breath them down, reach an Aqua Tail for Necrozma, and then Dragon Breath the Necrozma down and take that win. On to the next match, we're going to get another Palkia on the lead, another really nice lead, and then my opponent swaps out into a Rhyperior. Okay, so I didn't want to stay in with Florges because I was going to have to shield the Rock Wrecker either way because that really hurts, and the Mud Slaps from this are really going to chunk. So I am able to go for an Icicle Spear from Mamoswine, but it looks like here I am going to have to end up double shielding because I do not want to lose switch. I'm not able to throw an Icicle Spear on the Palkia, but when I bring Florges back in, my opponent swaps out into a Heatran, and it looks like we might be okay here. I just need to reach 2 Aqua Tails against this Heatran. We go for the first one, take my opponent's final shield, and thank goodness we're able to reach the second one before my opponent can go for another Stone Edge, and Florges should be able to farm this Heatran down here. Yep. We can farm them down and have a Moonblast ready for that Palkia. My opponent is going to go ahead and top left. Now in the next match, we're going to get a lead that's a little bit different. I haven't been seeing a lot of Xerneas leads this season so far, but at least it's up against our Florges and not against our Palkia. I am going to go for a Moonblast, which my opponent lets go, and I'm really hoping that my opponent will let the next Moonblast go. I'm not going to go for a Trailblaze only because I don't think it's enough to KO. We're able to reach the Moonblast and just barely survive that close combat, and then my opponent comes in with a Rhyperior. Okay, I have to come in with Mamoswine because Palkia is really going to struggle against a Rhyperior that has 2 shields left. They will most likely double shield my Aqua Tails. I go for an Icicle Spear, get a shield from my opponent, and then I am going to let my Mamoswine go. I was thinking I'd just come in with Palkia and farm them down, but my opponent swaps out into a Kyurem. Okay, I go ahead and use a shield because, well, I'm going to have to shield one of the Fusion Bolts anyways. They are going to make it to 2, and they shield our Aqua Tail. We might have a chance here because I'm going to be able to farm them down and have an Aqua Tail ready for their Rhyperior. This will KO, and we take another win. Alright, so you know how we're ABA weak to Ho-Oh? Well, this next match we are going to see Ho-Oh on the lead. I'm just going to swap into Palkia and see what happens. Most likely, my opponent is going to bring out a hard answer for Palkia. Yep, there's the Xerneas. I'm just going to go ahead and top left. There is no point playing that match. So Ho-Oh lead, just top left. And then this next match I lose because I mess up. My opponent leads a Kyurem White, and then they swap out into Dialga. I go for a Moonblast again. I really need to weaken the Dialga before swapping into my Mamoswine, and then I am going to come in and Mud Slap them down. Now I have so much energy for this Kyurem. I should not go for a Stone Edge here because I really need to weaken them. I should have just gone for 2 Icicle Spears. That would have been a better play because now they are very, very healthy here. And I thought they were going to go for a Fusion Flare, so I let the move go. Unfortunately, it ends up being the Ice Burn. And my opponent's final Pokemon is a Landorus. So I could have won this game if I had done a lot of things differently. I am going to go for an Aqua Tail here. My opponent lets it go, but they will be able to Ice Fang our Palkia down. I'm not going to be able to land the Aqua Tail, but maybe if I had just gone for an Icicle Spear, the outcome would have been different because look at how much health my opponent has left. Not a lot, but either way, that is still going to be another positive set. It could have been, you know, a little bit better. Still a positive set with Mamoswine. Alright, so this next battle should have been a really easy win for me. I'll tell you guys where I went wrong, but we're up against a Keldeo on the lead. I can just go for Trailblaze because it is going to hit for super effective, and I should be able to go for another Trailblaze before my opponent can reach another Aqua Jet. They let it go. We're able to get the Keldeo out of the way, and then my opponent brings in a Rhyperior. I will be able to reach a Trailblaze before my opponent can go for a Rock Wrecker, and my opponent is going to have to throw that Rock Wrecker in order for me to not reach another Trailblaze. This is looking really good for us. Now, where can I go wrong? I am going to go ahead and shield here, which is the right call, but then here, if I had just gone for an Icicle Spear instead of going for that Stone Edge and being greedy, then I would have won this because now my opponent has a lot of health left on this Black Kyurem, and I'm not going to be able to fully farm them down with my Palkia. If I had just gone for that Icicle Spear, I could have farmed them down with Palkia and then come out with an Aqua Tail for Rhyperior, and I would have won that game. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Rhyperior on the lead. Now, even though I can go for Trailblaze, Rhyperior still gives me such a hard time, and I am going to have to shield the Rock Wreckers. Here, actually, I decide to let my Florges go, thinking that my opponent was going to go for a Rock Wrecker, but they went for a Breaking Swipe, and then they go for the Rock Wrecker. Okay, this is fine. I'm going to come in with Mamoswine. I have decided to change up my strategy a bit and see what happens if I save shields for Mamoswine. My opponent brings in a Dialga, which is telling me that their backline is probably entirely weak to Mamoswine, so this is an easy shield. I have 2 shields left. I can go ahead and shield the Iron Head, and for some reason, my opponents, instead of bringing in the Kyurem for Mamoswine, they brought in Dialga, so I swap out immediately into my Palkia. As soon as they see Palkia, they go ahead and they top left. And then in the next match, we get a really nice lead of Palkia, but this time my opponent is staying in. Usually with Palkia leads, they swap out immediately. They might be ABA weak to Florges. Anyways, we take an Aqua Tail, and here I go for a Trailblaze, really hoping that my opponent would think it was a Moonblast, but they end up letting it go. I am going to be able to go for another Trailblaze against the Florges that they bring in. And this Florges is worrying me a little bit because my backline will struggle against it. But I'm able to reach a Moonblast here and they let it go. And then I can come in with Mamoswine, shield whatever they're going to throw here, just in case it's Trailblaze, and farm them down with the Mud Slaps. I can reach an Icicle Spear against their Palkia. My opponent uses their final shield. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my final shield as well because I could probably Mud Slap them down. And it turns out that my opponent's final Pokemon is a Zygarde. We're able to land the Icicle Spear, and then I swap into Palkia, reach the Aqua Tail, and my opponent had enough energy for an Outrage, so they might not have been running Outrage. I think they were running Earthquake, but we are going to take that win. In the next match, we're up against another Keldeo on the lead. I'm surprised how many people are running Keldeo, but I'm going to go straight for Trailblaze, and my opponent actually decides to shield the first one. So this Keldeo is still way too healthy for my comfort, so I am going to go ahead and double shield my Florges because they went ahead and double shielded. I know that I will be able to outpace to the Trailblazes, and the next one is going to land and KO the Keldeo, and let's see what my opponent brings in. They bring in a Landorus, and I will be able to go for a triple buffed Trailblaze. I wouldn't have been able to make it to the Moonblast because my opponent can go for a Sandsear Storm, but then my opponent catches the next Trailblaze on Dialga. This is really good for me. I can align my Mamoswine to their Dialga. They have no shields left, so I know that the Icicle Spear is going to land, and I also had to go for Icicle Spear because I don't want my opponent to reach an Iron Head. And then my Palkia is going to be able to Dragon Breath their Landorus down, and we can take another win. And with that, we have reached the final battle of the video. Florges is absolutely going to shine in this last match. It is going to be another win, and we end up with a 4-1 in this last set. So thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to go ahead and sign off here. I had so much fun using Shadow Mamoswine. I never get to use it. And if you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. If any of you have been able to make Black Kyurem work, let me know what teams you guys are running with it because I am getting absolutely destroyed with that Pokemon. Anyways, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye!